Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk about VCA automation in general. This is video number 2. So before we jump into VCA automation, I wanted to just talk about clip gain and how that actually turns out to be a really great workaround for not having to automate all the time. So as you can see here, for instance, on this track, some of the sections have already been sectioned into blocks. Okay, that's something that I do whenever I'm working on songs. I will often section off the tracks into blocks, so that I have an independent block for each section, all carefully managed. For instance, here in this song, I have, here I'm on the bass track, so I have the bass already perfectly cut to 8-bar blocks. So I have, here's the chorus, transition, intro, verse, etc., etc. Now, here I just have these long sections for the acoustic guitar. Here at this one point, I've done a mute, okay? And some of these other sections, you can see I've already chopped the sections up of like electric guitar. I've got this electric guitar, I've got that electric guitar for that part of the song. It's basically probably looks like the same basic section, but they come at different parts of the song. So let's say, for instance, I wanted to have this second chorus guitar a little bit louder than the first chorus guitar. Now I could go through all of the efforts of setting up a VCA automation moves fader like we're going to do in a second, but I could also just simply nudge these two blocks up a couple of dB relative to this one. Now, these have all been all of this information has been normalized. I've already done all my gain adjustments independently of all of these sections. So these are all already been maximized. So I really don't want to turn these chunks up. Adding gain to these is probably a bad idea, except for if I look at, say, this picking guitar thing, this already kind of looks a little bit low. If you're looking at relative to this section here, it looks a little bit on the low side. So let's just go ahead and take a look at the gain stage. So we use the gain plugin to look at the gain before we do anything. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the gain plugin, take a look at that track. And it shows me that it's -4. So a lot of times I like to have the clips at -6 to -8. That's a comfortable volume for me. It gives me a little bit of headroom for the EQ plugins and what have you. So that's a good volume right there. Now let's take a look over here at these guys. And they're -2.7. So that's a little on the hot side. So I'm definitely not going to bring those up, because we could get into a situation of clipping. But if I wanted these to be louder than this clip here, now relative to their fader position, okay, so okay. So if I want this block of 2 to be louder than this one relative to its fader position, then what I would do is I would bring on clip gain, and this is already set to 0, and we already know it's negative 2.7. So what I need to do is I need to bring the first one down. So if I bring the first one down, let's say I want this one to be 5 dB lower. I bring this one down by 5 dB. Now, this first chorus is quieter than the second chorus. Now, to compensate, I would simply bring the faders up 5 dB. They were at negative 17, so I brought them up to negative 12. Now, I just boosted these by 5 dB. So that's a way of automating it without actually using automation. So why I use clip gain for stuff like this. I will separate things into regions, into blocks, and then use clip gain to do little minor automation moves without actually using automation. Another thing that you can do is you can simply separate things. Now, let's say that these electric guitar parts were all originally on, you can see they're on different parts of the song. Let's say they were originally just on one set of tracks, okay? Let's say they were all just basically one stem, and I divided them up into different stems. So what you can do then is you've now got a fader to control each of these sections. So if I want, say, this first section to be, a little bit lower, the second section to be slightly louder, and the third section to be even louder, I can do that because they're all divided up into sections. And now I can put different effects on this versus this versus this, different compression. I can pan them independently. This is another way of being able to easily automate different sections of a song, is by having them all on different tracks. So I can control each of these. If let's say this piece here comes in on the chorus, which it does, and I want to have a little bit of a chorus boost, well, here's how difficult that is to have a chorus boost. It's on its own track, bloop, it's boosted. So it's, I'm not dealing with automation. I'm not dealing with clip gain. I'm not dealing with any of that. I'm not adding VCA automation. I have the chorus on its own track, so I can turn the chorus up anytime I want to. It's on its own track, can have its own effects, can have its own plugins. It can have whatever it needs to have. It's on its own track. So that's actually the easiest way to have complete control of the different sections of the song, is to just simply have them all on their own track. Then you don't have to worry about anything else. As you can see, I divide up a lot of this stuff. Like here, I've got the strings divided up. I've got these strings on that pair of tracks, these strings on that pair of tracks. This has all been just sectioned off on different tracks. So if I want to bring the verse up or down, I can just grab those tracks, and now I can bring them up. Let's say, here, I'll just play a little bit of this. So let's say I want the chorus to pop a little bit. Let's go to okay, so there's the chorus strings. Now it gets to the verse, and I want to kind of bring the energy down a little bit. So it's on its own track. Here it comes. So now the verse is lower than the chorus. Very easy way to, if you set your song up properly, you can avoid most automation jobs, because you can use things like clip gain to change the volume from one section to another, and you can just simply have each section on its own set of channels. So if you want to have one section of a song up a little bit louder, turn up the fader. Very, very simple. And then if we look here at the bass, which has all been divided up, if I want to say have a little bit of dynamics, as in I want to bring, say, verse 3 down a little bit, like I want to kind of suck in the energy for verse 3, I can just kind of, I'm going to bring the energy down 5 dB on the bass. So now it gets to the bridge, or let me bring that guitar down. So now I've brought the energy down on the, you keep in mind with clip gain, if you set up your clip gain properly at the beginning, where you're maximizing your gain and setting your maximum gain of each track properly, then when you want to do some dynamics, keep in mind that you're going to want to attenuate. You're going to want to bring the level down only. You don't want to boost. You never want to see a positive clip gain like this unless you know you've got the headroom to do that. And how do you do that? Well, you do it by doing a test here with your gain plugin. So that actually, I brought that up by 5 dB, and that now is at -7. So it still isn't over 0, but it's dangerously close. So I just wouldn't do it that way. Now, what if you need to turn a section up? Like, let's say instead of it going down on the verse 3, you want it to go up. Well, if that's the case, you simply turn on your clip gain line, and now you can use your trim tool to trim the whole thing down a few dB. So now I'm going to give myself that extra headroom by bringing the whole thing down by 5 dB, and I'm going to need to compensate then by bringing the bass up 5 dB to compensate to get back to the same level. And now if I want to bring that up 5 dB for that section, that gets louder there. So that's how you do that. So you just simply trim the whole thing down, compensate at the fader, and then bring the channel or the clip up that you want to bring up.